And hello, welcome today for the next SportWorks talks. We are very, very fortunate today to have Marely Flores Martinez from FIFA. And she will give us a terrific insight into her personal experience and development, working across a wide range of tournaments. Welcome, Marely.
Hello, guys. Thank you very much to SportWorks to invite me, and I'm very pleased to be with everyone today.
And we're going to have not only a global journey, we're going to be talking about what it's like for her to organize and be part of the organizing committee for different age group FIFA tournaments for women, starting from under 16s right up to under 20s, but also the challenge of keeping that consistency across continents, from Papua New Guinea to Jordan, from Costa Rica to France in 2019. Feel free to ask questions. There'll be plenty of opportunity. We'll have a couple of videos to show you and a short presentation. And I leave you now in the great hands with Marely.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Guy, for the introduction. So I'm going to pass you some slides to go through the webinar. You can put the next one. Thank you very much. I will tell you about my journey across 4 continents. I would like to tell you about my background so you understand why I end up where I am now. I did a bachelor in marketing in Mexico in Tecnológico de Monterrey. It's a multi-campus university. And then in my studies, I also did an exchange program in the USA. I mention this because by destination, I got a course in sport management, but at that time, I was not really thinking about this. So in the future, it's what I do now, and that's why I mention it. At the same time, since primary school, I was studying music and I completed a bachelor in piano performance. Then after some years of organizing chamber music concerts in my city, seasons of concerts with different international artists, I decided that I wanted to organize world championships in sports, particularly football. So I took the application in the AISTS based in Lausanne, where I could learn about all related to the Olympic movement and also how other sports works, not only football. In order to graduate of the master, we need to do an internship, and I was very lucky to be able to have one at the International Tennis Federation in London, and my main project was to organize a seminar for coaches from all over the world. So I really got the international experience that I was looking for during my internship. Couple of years later, after a stay in Mexico, I came back because I really wanted to work in international sports in Switzerland. So I hired me as events and competition manager. We did many championships around the world, many conferences, seminars, congress. We basically were a small team and we were organizing all kinds of activities. And then the highlight of my career there was the opportunity to work in the London Olympic Games in the competitions part. So it was really a very special experience for me. Then I thought, well, I really want to go into football. How can I do it? I will tell you a bit of the story later, but eventually I got into the match operations department at UEFA, where I was doing some stuff related to Champions League, to Europa League, and also the Women's Champions League season to organize it together with my colleagues. Everything is a teamwork. And then after 2 years, I decided I wanted to do this, but globally in different continents, different countries. And I came to FIFA, and I'm now the FIFA Women's Football Tournaments Manager. Thank you. The next one. So this is my journey in FIFA tournaments. We start with Costa Rica in 2014, under 17. Then we go to Jordan. That was my first World Cup as FIFA employee in 2016 for the under 17 World Cup. Then we went that same year, just a few months after, to Papua New Guinea, which held the under 20 Women's World Cup. Then 2017, it was a planning year for us. So in 2018, we went to France for the under 20. But just before that, I had the nice opportunity to contribute in the Russia World Cup as a pre-match ceremonies coordinator, which was basically to coordinate the volunteers with all these big flags and the crowd cheering when the flags open during the pre-match ceremony. And then we went to France for the Women's World Cup that I think is quite known now and people are aware that it happened. And just after that, I took a few weeks off and then helped my colleagues to prepare the Beach Soccer World Cup in Paraguay. So this has been a very interesting journey. As you can see, it has happened in many different places with interacting with different cultures. And that also helps you because you can benchmark events in different places and you can see what you can use from other tournaments for the next tournament. And that is really an ongoing learning process. Next one, please. So what is special about these women's under 17 and under 20 World Cups? The initial concept of these youth tournaments is that the people in the country, they get the opportunity to organize a World Cup and not necessarily the men's World Cup that we all know. So for these tournaments, also FIFA covers the expenses of teams like international travel, like their accommodation. We also give some material for the teams while they are in the competition, like medical bags, or we also give the squeeze bottles, so everything looks similar and we are always supported by our partners. And also what is interesting here is the development programs that are held during the tournament. So the objective of these programs is to raise awareness of a social problem in the country that is hosting the tournament. So we go there and then we can contribute to raise awareness because we know that you cannot change the world from one day to another, but you can contribute with the tournament, with the messages, with the promotion, with the campaigns to raise awareness about all these things that are happening in the country and also somehow help the country to go through these activities and raise awareness in their community, raise awareness in the world. So I think this is a very important part. And it's something that I have lived in up until the World Cup in France under 20 in youth tournaments. Also, these tournaments are very oriented to development. Therefore, we allocate 3 slots per confederations. We have 6 confederations, so we allocate 3 places for countries to participate and 1 to the Oceania Confederation. So we start the journey with Costa Rica. So I'm going to pretend I'm in the tournament. I'll wear my accreditation. So this one for me was the first FIFA event. It was between jobs. I was very open to learn how FIFA organized tournaments. I was there mostly during 1 month to understand how people organize, how people interact, what the teams do behind the scenes, because for me, this has been the most interesting part of my job, know what's going on, what we cannot see, because we can see the match, but we don't know all the organization that is around. So I was very lucky here because my first 3 weeks, I spent them in a small stadium where I could really get involved in all the areas of the tournament, like marketing with the branding, media to see how the mix-on works, the TV operations. I went to the inside of the broadcast truck. I also was preparing the meetings with the team, so I also did some translations, helped the people there. And I was very fortunate because the people who were appointed by FIFA to go to the tournament allowed me to be in all these meetings and to get the most of it. So for me, it was very important, even to go and measure the pitch. And this stadium had an artificial pitch. So I went with my colleague in the stadium and we rolled the ball and saw how they do the tests for these things. So it was very a good insight being there. Then the last week, it was for the final in the National Stadium, which is a much bigger stadium. Here, obviously, my task was reduced because I couldn't be everywhere doing everything. So it also gave me the perspective on how you work in a small stadium, how you work in a big stadium. And I also got to see the contrary the days that I didn't have match, but I also tried to do other non-match days, so also to learn what happens when the teams are not there. Thank you. Now we go all the way to the Middle East. We go to Jordan. This World Cup, it was also, every tournament is very special. This one was because it was the first FIFA World Cup in the Middle East for women. It was also the first time that the teams wear headscarves in a FIFA tournament. And one of the legacies that was left here was the renovation of 4 stadiums, and also they had to build training sites, and a problem in Jordan is the water. So we had to balance between grass pitches and artificial grass pitches, so they could manage the tournament, and also we didn't run out of water in the country, basically, and to also take care of the environment inside. They also left this legacy for schools, for clubs, and for other institutions that might use the fields. And one very important is the women empowerment, because the local organizing committee had the leading women in the different departments. Even the CEO was a woman, and also in that area of the world, I think this was very important, and it showed a lot to people and to the community that also this can be done. And it was also they brought some people from outside, like photographers from England, photographers from other places. So this was also an interaction between the local people and the knowledge that people from outside brought, and interchange of experiences and all that. So this was very, very important there. It really left a legacy in this sense. Next one, please. So FIFA and the Jordan Football Association were working together in a 4-year program in order to raise awareness of the sport, to encourage young girls to take it up, and also to boost popularity of football and women playing football. And I would like to quote here the CEO of the tournament, Samar Nasser. I'm going to read it. She said, "We wanted to host this tournament to improve foundations of the sport, football for women and for sports in general. We believed that the sport of football would have a positive effect on young people and their communities." And it really did, because even they have a very huge refugee camp. It's one of the biggest one in the world, Al-Zatari training camp. They managed to get the girls out, which is not an easy task, in order to have the girls watching the matches and looking at their heroes, who are also girls playing football. So this also left a legacy and left a different mindset for the people around it. Not only that, but they also did this social responsibility campaign called No Smoking for Jordan. So they even won a prize with this campaign, that they really led the time to the tournament, leading the time to the tournament. They also did this campaign, and they even won an award for this campaign. And this is the Citizen Build poster for the No Smoking campaign. So it was a wonderful LOC, because they embraced the tournament and they really made the most of it with infrastructure, with social legacy, with campaigns to help the people in their country. Thank you. Next one. Now we move all the way to the Pacific. For me, this was a very, very nice tournament. To be honest, I never in my life expected to be that far from home. So this was very special because of the location, but also because Papua New Guinea, or PNG, how we sometimes call it, they don't have a football infrastructure by itself. Their main sport is rugby. So for us was also the challenge to bring materials from China, from Australia, so we could play the matches. And that was also a very interesting process. Sometimes you take things for granted, but then you arrive there and you find a lot of things that for you were by default, but are not there. So this was a very, very interesting process. What we also did in Jordan is that we brought the PNG venue managers to there, so they could learn, they could acquire the dimension of the tournament that they were going to have after in Papua New Guinea. So this also is a legacy that you leave to the people of the country that are hosting the tournament. Even we had one stadium out of the 4 stadiums in PNG that was run only by women. So all the venue key roles in the team, in the stadium, were people from Papua New Guinea doing the different functions. So this was also to have the legacy of the women empowerment. And eventually we invited some of them to come to future tournaments as FIFA officials. So we are also trying to build this legacy on the people and their knowledge. What was super, super nice in this tournament is that the government, as the country is very far away from many other places in the world, they organized groups of supporters. So the government had communities, that each community was going to be the fan group of each team. So when the teams arrived in the airport, the teams were in the bus, And then as they were going from the airport to the hotel, they found all these people around the road with their shirts and with, for example, Japan in their cheeks, and like every team experiences that. And imagine for a under 20 girl to have that in that side of the world, that people are cheering for them and supporting them. So I think the spirit was great there, and also showed the quality and the happiness of the people that live in that region of the world. Also, the attendance was very good in the tournament in general. And I also put this picture, the one that is below. This is the player who scored the goal to the champions in the future. So DPR Korea won the tournament, but PNG had it in the group stage. And this was the goal that they scored. And you will see in the video that we are going to show afterwards how exciting this moment was. I think now we can put the video of Papua New Guinea. Thank you very much, Guy. Next slide. If you go back, this one is a campaign that it was performed during this tournament. And violence, unfortunately, there is a lot of violence against children and women there. So the UN Women and other organizations like Urban Youth Development Project, the Oceania Football Confederation, UNICEF, are doing campaigns against this, and it was also the time of the tournament that we can use this as a tool to communicate this, to raise awareness. And this basically is done during the semifinals of the tournament. So the team captains, before the match, they give a message in their own language, and then it's translated to the local language about this campaign. And then they post together for a picture and with the banner in order to raise the awareness of this. So this also has the social responsibility side, besides all the nice things that happened in this tournament. Next one, please. So now we fly all over from the Pacific to France, where we had the Under-20 Women's World Cup, which was a very important event for us because it led to the Women's World Cup in 2019, and basically all the people working in this tournament were working in the 2019 tournament. That also helped us to know how we work with each other, where we can improve, where we can allocate more resources. So it was very, very important for us to have them. In this tournament, I was different from Costa Rica. I was really involved since the planning of the tournament. I was mostly focused on the stadium selections and the pre-tournament inspections, such as going to the stadiums to follow up until the tournament happens. We on average go twice a year. I also was in charge of the training sites project together with the team in the LOC to find 17 pitches, so each team could have their own training site when they go to play in different cities. And this is a very interesting project because it's like a puzzle. You need to find a good pitch or a potential good pitch that can be ready for the tournament. You need to link it also with a good hotel that meets the requirements for the teams. And you also need to bear in mind the distance between the hotel and the training site and the hotel and the stadium. So it's really a complicated process, but it's very interesting to try to match all the pieces of the puzzle. It was very entertaining at some point to do this. And the other training site is for the referees, the 17th, for our other team in the tournament. Here they organized some social programs with the teams. Teams went to play with some groups of people, groups of children. We also had some sessions that the teams could participate as normal training session, but the people could come and see how they train. Some other players were taking to do social responsibility activities. For example, New Zealand went to have some activities on the beach and also help to make the beach a bit cleaner. So these kind of activities that I think that for the girls are also very good because they impact their lives. It's not only football, it's more than football, and they can also see how the local communities react and to interact with the community. So I think that it's a very important aspect of this tournament. And what was interesting for me in the training sites project is that this region is the northwest of France, so it's Brittany. And what I perceived is that people there in the small towns around the big cities of that area, they were not aware of how professional these girls are at 20 years old. So that was a challenge to try to explain them that this training site needs to be with these requirements, this training site needs to be like this, because we have very good level players. They are the best in their countries, they are the best in the region, so we need to deliver the best for them. And I think that this tournament also helped to change the perception of the people in the communities to see how women play football and at what level they can reach as well. So that I think is one of the best insights that I got when I was there. Next one. Now, another video.
Spirit. Marta becomes the leading goal scorer in the history of the FIFA Women's World Cup.
It's a great run! Wonderful goal! Cameroon have put their place in the last 16.
The world champions march on. It is England who go through.
Oh, it's a collision on the line and Japan will score!
Saves!
Two Japan are into the FIFA Women's World Cup final.
It's Carly Lloyd again! Lauren Holiday makes it 3-0, and we haven't even played 14 minutes here. The United States of America are the 2015 World Cup winners.
Thank you, Guy, for playing the video. So this was an introductory video to one of the most important tournaments in my career. For me, it was really a milestone because we were very, very few people back in 2016 when we were in Papua New Guinea. We might be less than 5. I mean, I think me and the tournament director of France were the few ones that really started the operational planning towards 2019 that finished it as well. So it was a very nice thought. Then this one, I was, as I said, involvement since the beginning. We had more stadiums than we used finally, because you need to have a list so you can choose the best stadiums that meet your needs. Then I also did here the project of the training sites, another puzzle but bigger, because we had 24 teams and we had 9 host cities, and in each of the 9 cities we had 4 training sites to assure that all the teams could have their own training site when arriving in the country. Because, for example, you have a city that is hosting a match, so you have 2 teams, but then one day after that match the other team is arriving because they played their match thereafter. So you needed to have 4 training sites so all the teams could be in their training site whenever they wanted. I also was part of the initial match schedule. I drafted the first match schedule for this tournament. Then you need to take into account how the teams will move, which days you will have as rest days. Also, you need to match it with the weekend, so you have most of the people watching in the weekend, so you have the best audience as well for these games. I was also involved in the venue management processes and the match operations, so I think that I visit every stadium 5 times in the leading to the tournament, looking at different things, because sometimes you go to stadium of a club and then you see, for example, there was a case, the benches. The benches were fine for me, but then after 6 months, sometimes the tournaments have stadiums for clubs, so the club decided to improve the benches. So you go in the next visit and then you see the changes. So together with the LOC, we are working as a team to make it the best possible for the teams, because our main objective is that the teams are comfortable and that they can focus in their game and not to be distracted or to be bothered by all their organizational practices. So that's why we try to make the best for them. In this tournament, I also had a very nice opportunity to not only be in the headquarters office, but for semi-final and final, thanks to my boss who proposed me to be in the venue team, so in the team that actually delivers the matches for these 3 last matches in Lyon. And for me, it was like a full experience of tournament. I work in the planning, I work in the setup, and then finally I also got to be in the match operations of this wonderful tournament. Next one, please. Now, this also was a very good improvement in terms of pitch management. Our great pitch management team, they worked very hard in order to leave legacy and knowledge to the local groundsmen, and also to deliver these kind of pitches. The idea was that when the teams come to their training site, they also have the feeling that they are in the stadium. And when you do this and you have very, very good training sites, the teams are happy, and that's what we are looking for. Because if they are happy, it means that the quality of the installations, the quality of the pitches, the quality of the facilities are good, so that they, as I say, they can focus in their performance. And we also had some community training sessions, which, as in the 2018 tournament, that the teams go to the training site and the local community can also watch them playing. They can ask for autographs sometimes. It depends on the team if they allow it or not. And this also gives us some perspective on how every team reacts. And it was a very nice experience because I visited maybe 60 small towns in France, and it was like a road trip for me. And I think in 2018 I was every month in France, and it also improved my French skills, so I was very happy to get this out as well. The next one, please. So which are the results of this tournament? Well, the main goal on TV side was to reach 1 billion viewers, which was achieved. The final was also the most watched women's football match in the history. We also had a team, our colleagues organized the project where you have a team reporter. So you assign one person to each team, and this team reporter, they cover what the team is doing in terms of media. They produce some short videos of what the team is doing. So the coverage went to all the 24 participant teams, which also helped to raise awareness in the social media. And also it helped for the 1 billion that it was broadcasted in 205 territories around the world. Next one, please. I would like to leave you with this statement. So from the sustainability strategy for the FIFA Women's World Cup France 2019, Women's World Cup as a unique opportunity to showcase the universal nature of football and promote responsible social, environmental, and economic values in the host cities and among all the event stakeholders. This event is an opportunity to change people's mentality and raise awareness. I think that for what I have experienced in my own court, this was achieved, and it's also a very important milestone, not only for football, but for women in football and for all the players around the world. Next one, please. Okay, so now this is the end of my presentation, but I want to leave you with a question. And the prize is a surprise, so feel free to write in the chat. And the question is, which country has won the 3 categories of FIFA Women's World Cups? So under 17, under 20, and FIFA Women's World Cup, and in which years? And my colleagues in SportWorks will be able to tell me who is the winner. I appreciate a lot the opportunity to tell you my story, and hopefully all the people that are watching get a better insight on what we do, not only for Women's World Cup, but also for the youth women's tournaments. Thank you, Guy.
Thank you very much, Marely. Absolutely amazing. And so for those of you who didn't catch that question, which team has won the under 17, under 20, and the full FIFA Women's World Cup, and in which years? So that's a heck of a lot of Googling that you've got to do in a very short period of time. We can give prizes to people living in Switzerland. So if you're not living in Switzerland, might be a bit tricky. You'll have to nominate someone who's here to give the prize to. And who knows what Marely is going to be providing you. It could be a set of goalposts. It could be a toy or a key ring. We just don't know. So very, very exciting. I'm going to be a bit cheeky and kind of start the questions here. The one thing that struck me, FIFA obviously has very high standards in event delivery. How do you maintain that consistency when you're operating from Jordan to Papua across the globe? What is the flexibility you have, and what are the things that really must be delivered from a quality standard point of view in your sense?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think it makes a lot of sense because we're really working so different locations, you know, and many things you cannot say you need to do it like it was in the other country, but we have parameters that are not negotiable. For example, in security, we have regulations that need to apply to all FIFA tournaments because that's what we are looking for standard in many practices. Flows for mix-on, doping procedures that come also from WADA. We also have our checklist with all the requirements that a stadium has to have, like no question that you cannot have that. And we need to work together with the LOC in order to arrange how we can make it happen. But it's at some point also think globally, act locally. So you need to sometimes, maybe if a dressing room is not existing, or in the youth tournaments, you need 4 dressing rooms. So what we did in France is with some stadiums that had 2 existing dressing rooms, We had very, very good quality containers that could cover those needs. So there are things that you cannot really compromise. And what matters for us the most is that teams have everything that they need.
And the countries that you've gone to, you know, my sense, if we just take Jordan for an example, where the opportunity to play sport, my sense is hosting a women's football tournament there is bigger than football. That's a chance for girls to actually express themselves, to do activity. And I read the first time they could play, with a hijab. What's been the impact post tournament? What have you heard about football in Jordan and other sports since you hosted the tournament there?
Yeah, I think that this tournament there was a big milestone for the region, not only for Jordan, because they also could take people to the stadiums, like women, children, that were enjoying and that they see that they can also be part of the game. So in the Middle East, I think it was a big message, and also because in that region, the tournament had big exposure, and now more and more teams are joining the competitions, and now with the use of the hijab, they feel included as well. I think that it made sense to make it allowed to in the competition.
We've got a question here about women's empowerment, I think from Renata Roth. Where does FIFA feel about having leadership teams for Women's World Cups who are predominantly women's led? Is there a policy on that? Is there encouragement? How do you subtly encourage that?
You mean women leading the project?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Renata. How are you? Nice to hear you. Thanks for your question. Yeah, I mean, now we have our head of Women's World Cup. She's a woman. She was also the project lead for the Women's World Cup. And I think this is important because we are also trying to increase the pool of women to be match directors in our tournaments. Even now in Russia World Cup, we had 2 women that were match directors. So that really sends a strong message on this sense, that no matter if you are a man or a woman, you can also deliver at the same level. And I think that little by little, we are achieving this better. And also people who are in the leadership are also taking this into account. So I think that little by little, we are also getting where we want to be.
The question again from Renata, she's very active, about the anti-smoking campaign. And I think, Renata, you've slightly missed the point there. I think it's the organising committees who come up with the community-themed campaign. I don't think it's FIFA. So how do you evaluate the campaigns that the LOCs suggest end violence in Papua New Guinea? What's the process of selecting a campaign?
Yeah, so basically, when we generally are in the first meetings with the LOCs, normally we ask which social program would you like to approach, because nobody knows better than them of what's going on in their country and how things are approached. So it's really a meeting where you try to find which could be a social program that you could make awareness during the tournament. And it's also, we're not going to, okay, we go there for 1 month and everything will change. No, it doesn't work like that. But you need to put tools in place in order to help the country to raise awareness, or help the country to make this public, and that people are also helping at some point. So we meet with them, then our promotions team also gets involved, social responsibility, and also Women's Football Division have this concern, like we need not only to deliver football matches, but we need to also create a program and promote it so people are aware and we can help somehow on these campaigns.
And I think we've come to the time now of the great reveal of which teams and which years. And well, I've got a couple of very detailed answers down the side here, which I think, Marely, you can read, can't you, in the chat? I've got 2 answers on Japan. I've got a couple of answers on USA, but without all of the details. I've put my money on Norway, and I think I'm wrong. Are you going to put us out of our misery?
Yeah, so it's, you want me to tell them the answer then?
What do you think? Are we all ready? Is there any more answers? I'm not seeing anybody else typing at the moment. So I think we can stop the clock. And do we have a winner or not?
Did they put the years in which it wasn't?
Well, at the moment, we've got Japan, we've got we've got under 17, 2014, under 20, 2018, World Cup 2011. That is consistent with two of the answers. Right, okay. Well, we have a winner. Well, we have a winner on timing here is Rijal Shada. So we will contact Rijal and who knows what he's won? Who knows? It could be an inflatable football pitch. It could be a signed shirt.
It's a surprise.
Very much, Marely. Thank you very much for spending some of your valuable time. And I think we will all be following these Women's World Cup age group tournaments much closer in the future. We will do a little summary of this and we'll provide some links for some of the videos that we couldn't show today from Jordan, for example, which I think was really spectacular. And we look forward to seeing your journey continue to go upwards and onwards. Thank you very much. On behalf of the whole SportWorks team here in Lausanne.
Thank you. And to my friends in Mexico, gracias por levantarse temprano. Les mando un saludo. And yeah, see you next time. And thank you. I really enjoyed it. And I hope I gave a good insight.
Absolutely wonderful. Hasta luego. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Ciao.